Hi, this is Dave Hawes from Powder Software. In this video, we're going to go over using Excel as a sample data source for getting started with Chartnado. Now, in this video, I'm going to produce the simplest possible Chartnado dashboard that only has one widget, but it will give you the idea of how to use Excel data as the source. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our dashboard file to begin with. So I've logged in as my test user. I'm going to go into the sample team, documents, general directory. You'll notice that there's already a demo.xlsx file that we're going to use as the source for the data. Now you don't have to put the Chartnado file in the same directory as your source data. We're just doing that for convenience here. So you go up to the right, new file forwarder, dashboard, and we'll just call this one demo. Save that. Now we have a new demo.chart file, which is the Chartnado dashboard file. We'll click on that. Now we have a new empty dashboard. There are several ways to get started here. You can add a new worksheet, or the other thing that you can do is unlock, and that switches into edit mode. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a new worksheet, and on this worksheet I'm going to edit it so that I can start adding widgets. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cross table on. The cross table is where you define visuals in Chartnado. We will give you more of a description of how that works in a subsequent video, but for now, all we'll do is create a chart using Excel data. So edit the chart, and in order to actually get started, we have to provide some actual data for the table itself. So in order to get data from an Excel file, we know that the file is stored in OneDrive. So we'll search in the list of formulas for the OneDrive formula, and under the file name we will say I want to go into the sample team, documents, general, and we'll use the demo.xlsx file. Now, one of the prerequisites of using Excel as a data source in Chartnado is that the data in the Excel file has to be organized into Excel tables. In a subsequent video and in our documentation we describe why exactly that is, but the short version is that gives us some structure to the data so that we know the column names and the data types of those columns. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say that I want to get an Excel table from this OneDrive file. So I'll drag an Excel table on there, and in this case the table name, we'll just use a text node to specify the table name. In this case it's called sales. So once we've defined both the OneDrive file and the Excel table that the data comes from, you'll notice that our inspector here shows us the data from that Excel table. And because we're going to be repeatedly using this data, I'm going to wrap this in a cache node so that we can cache that on the client side. So I'm just going to save this real quick to save our changes so far. Then we go back to the cross table designer, and you'll notice from the data that comes from the Excel table we now have columns, and this is again one of the reasons that data tables are required. So very quickly I'm going to drag country down to arguments and line total down to values, and we get a chart of the sum of line total for each of the countries that comes out of our Excel data. That's the basics of getting data for Chartnado out of Excel, and hopefully we'll continue on later with additional videos for building more interesting cross tables and widgets. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.